Council members wandering in a second. The March 22nd meeting of Shreveport City Council is now called to order. Let us stand. Let us pray. Precious Father, we come again thanking you for this day and for this opportunity to meet and transact the business of this city. We come, Lord, with grateful hearts and a heart to serve. We thank you for our mayor and for this council, and we pray, Lord, that the business we transact here today will be pleasing in our sight. Direct our thoughts and direct our minds, and that all of our citizens be benefited by this meeting today. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where did Jerry go?
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bradford.
Present.
Mr. Everson.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Corbin.
Present.
Mr. Flurry.
Present.
Ms. Lynch. Mr. Vogel.
Thank you. And trust some others will be coming in. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting and conference? Okay, been moved by
Second.
Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Corbin, that the administrative minutes of March 7th and the City Council meeting of March 8th is approved. Then a discussion on that. If not, let's vote. Thank you. That motion passes 4-0 with 3 out of the chambers. Okay, we're down to awards, recognition, and of distinguished guests. I know I have one, but before I ask Mr. Thomas to come up, let me express my sincere thanks and appreciation to the mayor and my council colleagues, as well as other city employees and representatives for their kind and thoughtful condolences that was expressed to me and my family during the death of my brother. I really appreciate that. I appreciate those that attended the funeral. The mayor, thank you for being there in consolation and comfort, and thank the others who was there also. My family will be eternally grateful to all of you for your kindness shown toward us. I have a special guest, but before I call him up, do any other council members have any guests or communications they want to present? Councilman Epson.
Thank you. I just want to make a couple of just brief thank yous for a couple of weekend events that I had the honor of attending. One was a street dedication, and I want to thank the City Council as well as the Mayor's Office and the Department of Streets and Drainage Traffic Engineering, who does the street signs. And so we did a street sign a few weeks ago to commemorate a guy who was kind of a neighborhood hero in his neck of the woods in Shreveport. At the corner of Cheatham and Wallace Street was a guy, Mac James, who was really kind of a cornerstone of the neighborhood. He was one that brought everybody together and hosted a lot of neighborhood gatherings, and passed away about a year ago, and so we did a commemorative street dedication in his honor, and gave a chance for the whole neighborhood to come out and his family to come and remember him. And as it turns out, many of the people that live in that area actually are City of Shreveport employees, and were there, and I had a great chance to meet and talk with them. And it was just I have to say, sometimes in politics you get to go to events that all the time. It's really great how many events we get to go to, but sometimes they can seem a little formal or stoic, and this was one where just the appreciation and authenticity of how much this neighborhood cared for Mr. James was so clear and evident, and it was really just an honor and a privilege to be a part of that event that day. So I want to thank everybody for their support in making that happen. and I know that community really appreciates it. Secondly, on Saturday, had the privilege of going by a new business in District B that has been in the works for a while now. It's the second of our local breweries to expand into a larger scale tasting room. This is an industry that's been growing across the country, and something that is a trend that Shreveport is not the last to the boat on. We actually were kind of early on this trend, and it has done well for Great Raft Brewing, who has grown a very, not just a regional, but a national audience and accolades. And so now we welcome to the fold another one, Red River Brewing, who opened on Marshall Street. They did a soft opening. They'll have their grand opening in a few weeks, but it was very well attended, and it is just great to see again another historic building that had been vacant for dozens of years, to be come back to life in that way, to see hundreds of people in it, in a part of town that is sometimes underrepresented. So it was really exciting to see that. And lastly, just wanted to give a brief thanks to everybody involved with the As Is performance that was by the artist Nick Cave at the Shreveport Municipal Auditorium on Sunday. He did an artist residency in Shreveport where he worked with dozens of local artists. In addition to that, also he worked with social service housing in the area, and put on a very vibrant and creative performance piece to celebrate this community and the arts and culture that exists here. It was interesting and different and vibrant and fun to see, and also just very poignant to see the level of participation that a lot of local people got to have in that project. And these are, in many cases, people whose voices don't get heard very often, so to have a national and internationally famous artist help them to kind of express those feelings that they have, that they wanted to put out there to the larger world on stage was really quite something, and made you feel proud of the city. So just appreciate everybody for their support of those things.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councilman, for those observations, and certainly, my understanding, I wasn't able to be there, but the Nick Cave event was very positive and wholesome, and a lot of people really enjoyed that. And the new business is, again, a delight to hear. And as well as the recognition and honoring some of our unsung heroes with the street dedication. It may seem little to us, but to the families, it's a big and appreciated event. And before, again, I recognize another call up, Mr. Thomas. I want to acknowledge and say to those who may not have known him, but the city lost another community giant over the last 10 days, and that's in the name of Joe Wills. Joe Robert Wills was a great community icon in the Stony Hill community. Done a lot of great things in the community. Thank you, Mayor, and the family appreciated the proclamation that you prepared, and I had an opportunity to read at his family hour. But we have good people here who does a lot to make this city better, and I like to acknowledge them. And matter of fact, I will be drafting a resolution action that we prepare a tree dedication in honor of Mr. Wills forthcoming. I see our EDA director, Ms. Swain, is in the house. How are you? I just want to acknowledge you. You want to say anything before we move forward?
Good, thanks.
Thank you. Council, I asked Mr. Jeffrey Thomas, the director of the Minority Supply Institute, to come and make a presentation that I think would be enlightening to all of us, and sort of give us an understanding on what we need to do, how we need to put a greater effort and commitment toward our small and emerging businesses, as well as our minority business and their attempts to gain more of the economic of this city. I appreciate your attention and reception to what Mr. Thomas is going to present today.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford. I have a slide that I prepared, and I think you all have the handout. To our chairman, Councilman Bradford, and to all council members, to our mayor, and all assembled, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. My name is Jeffrey Thomas. I am the Strategic Action Director, Strategic Action Council Executive Director, and Managing Director of the Minority Supplier Institute. And you fund us, you give us money. Thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate the dollars you give us to help us do our work. We know we have to earn your trust and have to earn your continued support, and we hope we do that. And today's presentation will let you know what we're doing and what we need to do further to do even better things. Look at the presentation. I'm just going to do a brief introduction, the history of the SAC MSI, our achievements, our vision, proposition, our loan fund program, our procurement roundtable, and any opens that you may have. There's a staff of 3. Taylor Jameson, who's our Director of Corporate Partnerships, is here with me. He's on staff. Ms. Roan is our Secretary. Ms. Sandra Smallwood is our Director of Membership Services. The Strategic Action Council was founded or incorporated in 2004 as a result of a study that was done to see why we were not growing in Shreveport or this region. What could we do to better things? And Belden Daniels, which many of you may have heard of, came down here and did a report to help us figure out what do we need to do. Consequently, we had a Strategic Action Council that was developed with 28 members, a broad representation of the region. We did additional studies that showed that the wealth or income gap between our ethnic communities in this region was the worst in the country of any area our size. It was the worst racial gap and wealth gap in the country. And the Strategic Action Council, working with the Committee of 100, said, what can we do to help lower this gap? They decided to work within the free enterprise system, to work with corporations, to work with businesses to reduce the gap. This is not a give out, it's not philanthropy, this is work. We can reduce the wealth gap by making sure that minority, diverse, and women-owned businesses are participating in the economic infrastructure of this region. And so our goal at the MSI is to make sure that happens. We want our members and all diverse and minority companies and suppliers to be involved in the economic process of this region. MSI, we're hoping to be the premier supplier developer in this region, and we have 3 pillars that we have: capital, expertise, and opportunity. And I'm going to really hit on opportunity later on. But capital, in that we need to provide access to capital for our members. We need money to help our businesses grow, and so we have a program that we're putting in place this year. We also need to have expertise. That is to say, members need to know how to do their books, know how to market, know how to do customer service. We have classes every month that will address that, and even opportunities for our members. How can they get involved with these other corporations? How can they make deals with larger firms? We have monthly meetings where we have procurement individuals to come in and speak to our members about how to do business with those corporations. And the foundation of all of this is support that you give us, support we receive from the parish, our corporate partners, wealthy individuals, etc., to give us the money to do what we need to do. So why do we need to do this? Because, as you can see, we have achievements that says we have a minority supplier database. We have corporate partners that have gone from 13 to 24. We have our monthly meetings to engage our members with people on the procurement end on how they can do business with these corporations. We've had $28+ million to flow through our organization to our members, which I think is very good. Have more work to do. We championed a development fund where we rehabbed 2 apartment complexes and used our diverse suppliers to do the work. We have also been in collaboration with COHAB, Southern University's incubator, and the Association of General Contractors. We work with them to make sure that we are working together, collaborating, and there's not any overlapping of work. So why do we really need MSI? And it gets down to really the business receipts in the region, or specifically what I'm showing here is Caddo Parish. The numbers from the census, which is where I get my data, from the survey of business owners as recent as 2012, shows that in Caddo Parish, African Americans receive only 1% of the business receipts of this area, and other minorities receive 1%, and the rest of 90% goes to other groups. We think that is not a good percentage for this area. And if I were to use $100 to demonstrate to you what that means, it really says that if I have $100, only $2 out of the 100 would go to minority or diverse businesses. And if I were to take this aside, I would say only $1 out of the 100 would go to diverse businesses. Now, we also did analysis to the state to see how we're faring with the state, because it's to get a better picture to make sure that my numbers are right and I'm looking at it properly. And the state shows at 0.5%, which means this would go to 50 cents, and that would be $1.50. So as we look at this, it tells us that we are not a part of the economic infrastructure when it comes to our diverse and minority businesses. We want to change that. We are starting a loan fund where we will raise about $1 million to help our businesses who already have contracts get the working capital that they need to buy supplies or get employees on the job to get them going, in order to give them access to capital and make sure they can actually do a job that another company has asked them to do. Capital becomes key. And our goal is to raise $1 million. We're at $650,000 right now. We'll probably have two funds, one that will probably be specifically for Caddo Parish, and one fund that will be for Bossier, Webster, and Caddo, and DeSoto parishes. So we have two funds. And the interest rate we're looking at right now is 8%, which is much lower than what they get at these check cashing places, where it's probably 22%. And our investor will receive 4%, those who are lending us the money, and we will split it with the financial institution and SAC as far as the other 2%. This is not a give out, this is a loan. We have investors. I have to give a return, I've got to give a report. So it's not as if something we take lightly. You will go through the same process you would as any other bank. It's just that SAC will back you and say, we will back that loan. We will say it's good. We'll protect the principal. But we are just as vigilant as a bank would be. We understand sometimes they are not bankable. We are trying to help that situation. We also are implementing a diversity procurement roundtable, and I am heavily depending upon my board to help me with this. As I look around the area, city, region, I'm looking at all the corporations that I think have at least $10 million or more in spend in the course of a year. And I need to get them around a table so we can decide what is the best way to divvy that procurement spend with our diverse suppliers. This is what we do in corporate. So when I worked at Dell and Intel and Xerox, we would really get around a table and say, how can we make sure that locally or regionally, women-owned, African-American-owned, Asian-owned, Hispanic-owned businesses have a share of the pot? Well, we sat around a table to figure out how we're going to do that. And I'm saying that what we should do here in this region is the same thing. These corporations I have mentioned here are just examples. There's some I'm going after. My board is already helping with at least half of these already, and we'll start the other half in a month or two. But I am putting together this roundtable that will try to put at least $25 million, which is not a whole lot of money when you think about the Caddo Parish bringing in $24 billion, but $25 million that can come from this procurement roundtable that can be channeled to MSI or diverse suppliers in order to get our companies involved in the economic infrastructure. We believe that as everyone does well, the whole region will do well. We should not leave any group of people behind. It creates poverty. It creates all undesirable things we don't want. And it's better for everyone that we do well. We're able to attract more corporations to move here. That's what our study shows. If we have a lower wealth gap, we're able to have a better educational climate because there's money to go around. And also, as people make more money, they will spend more money, and our taxing authorities will make more money. So I'm quite sure anybody who's making money off sales will be happy as our bottom grows, because your pot will grow also. I've also given you a sheet that lists our members of our Strategic Action Board, 28. Quite impressive list of individuals who basically manage me and make sure I'm doing the right thing and watch me and the money. and it's a very good board, and that's who I'm depending on to help me do a lot of these things. But I want to give you an update of what we're doing, why it's important. We definitely want to make sure that our diverse and minority-owned businesses are involved in economic structure. We have plans to put that in place. If you have any suggestions to help us, we would appreciate that. And any comments you have for me, I would consider right now. Again, thank you for your time and support, and I appreciate it.
Thomas, I know there'll be a couple of questions, but I think you gave me a little bit more information than I was familiar with.
Yeah.
And I'm stunned. And I can only ask, how can that be? How can that be? How can a city this size?
Well, let me make sure that these numbers are for the parish of Caddo. I took the parish of Caddo, and to see how we're doing for in our diversity spend.
Well, I mean, that's even compounds my question. And
Okay, you're saying.
I mean, again, it's embarrassing, and it speaks volumes of the values of this parish and the businesses that are involved. And I don't know, and we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to invite you to a meeting of the Small Emerging Business
Yes,
Task
sir.
Force that I'll be having on the 6th of April.
Yes, sir.
I want you to come and we're going to deal with something through that committee. We're going to do what we can. But my point is simply that this parish, this city, is majority African American. This parish is 49% African American. And yet, African American businesses get 1% of the receipts that are spent. You said $25 billion. We can, I mean, a lot of elements are connected to this. Poverty,
Yes, sir.
crime, disinvestment. We cannot be the parish or the city that we have the potential of being if we're leaving the majority of our cities outside of the economic mainstream of this parish and city. We got to make that better. It appears, and I know you've been here about a year now.
Yes, yes, sir. You're.
And we are newly elected body of the city. But somebody dropped the ball down the road, and we got to pick up the ball and run with it. And I'm personally going to commit my time and energy and resources to do what we can do. I'm going to trust that the mayor and the city council feel the same way. Because we can do all these other things. We can do cleanup campaigns, we can do this, but if people not making money and getting opportunities, the best opportunity for us to grow our economy is through the African American business development. And we got to take advantage of these opportunities that we can come up with to make this happen. You put together some nice programs that I think could be nucleus and launching pads for getting this done. But outside of what you've done, what do you think contributes to this demise of black and minority businesses?
Let me tell you what I'm told. Sometimes I'm told that the capacity is not there, meaning there's not enough people that the African American or diverse business can find to do the work. They don't have the capacity, let's say, to do a $2 million deal. But the reason why they don't have the capacity because they haven't been given the $500,000 or the $1 million deal. You know, capacity comes over time. It's just like learning math. You start with the basics, then you go to algebra, then it's trig, then it's calculus, whatever the case. So there should be a progression in helping our African American businesses and diverse businesses, all of those diverse businesses, move up in the chain. So you can't say you just started 2 years ago, you can do a $20 million deal. No one comes out the gate like that. Everyone has to grow into this model. Even in corporations, with large corporations, I never negotiated a deal where you came out the gate with all of the work. It was always ramped over 12 or 18 months because we knew you couldn't handle it all at the same time. So when you're looking at these type of instruments or programs, you have to ramp into it. And so if we have a community that's not willing to ramp or slowly move up a chain, to help our businesses, we're going to have a problem. Access to capital has always been an issue. How can I get money to fund the business? Well, we have a loan fund that we hope that will help you that. I don't know the right people. I'm not at the bar with them. I'm not at the golf club with them. We try to help with that by having a meeting so you can meet people and socialize. And I send Taylor to the golf course so he can meet them and talk on your behalf and make sure that we have the right relationship and connection. So we're doing what we think we need to do to make that happen. And we just would hope that you would help us with that and be a bully pulpit for us to help us get this going.
And we will, and again, we have a fair share program. You're familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
We have strengthened that. I mean, the numbers have gone up over the last 15 months in that program.
That's good.
I mean, the mayor, the coordinator of fair share, they have a commitment to making that. That's an opportunity.
Yes, sir.
But I told them, and I'm going to be very blunt and honest, and you said it too, that we have to build the capacity within our own businesses. We can't make these numbers better if all we're doing is grass cutting and laying concrete as a subcontractor.
Exactly.
Those are not $1 million deals. Okay, those are not $1 billion contracts.
No.
So I'm gonna invite the minority contractors to the meeting, and we're gonna put our heads together and come up with some options and solutions to how we can make this happen. We got to because I mean, the future is not bright for this city if the majority population is not connected to the economic mainstream of this city, of this parish. So I welcome
Thank you.
you. I appreciate what you presented here today. We're going to get with Ms. Barnes. You know Ms. Barnes, I trust?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, we're gonna get with Ms. Barnes, and we're gonna see how we can cooperate, coexist, Mayor,
Absolutely.
and make something happen. The city is moving.
Absolutely.
Okay, 1% ain't moving. I think I could sell some cans and do 1%. But we're gonna do everything we can. I'm committed. The mayor, you committed,
Absolutely.
and I want this council
Absolutely.
to be prepared to help you in any way we can.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Okay,
If I may.
Councilman.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Mayor, please, I'll come back with you if you please. Councilman Fleury?
Sure.
Let me ask a couple of questions. Under this GPO, this diversity group person, surely this is not all. This is just a sample.
Just a sample, yes, sir. That's not all.
Okay. And
We
one
have
of
to
the-
start somewhere, yes, sir.
Yeah, and one of the things I think, I had the opportunity to experience this year, a young African-American in my district that wanted to start a business. And I have had that opportunity back some years ago, and I've worked with him, just trying to help him overcome. But what I found, there's so many hurdles, obstacles, that he had no idea. And so I'm just wondering if that might be part of the problem. And I hope the chairman will maybe address that in the small business meeting that he has.
There are some hurdles that we have, but they can be negotiated. I mean, we can work with that. With the right people around you, we can get you over the hurdle. The main thing we need to do is have those procurement opportunities. When will you have the opportunity to perform? That becomes the issue. And that's what we need. But there are hurdles, but we can negotiate some of those hurdles.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Councilman Everson?
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the report today. Certainly, me and Mike here were on the council when MSI was first funded, and I think that the need is obvious. There's obviously a disparity in business that goes on in the community, and it's absolutely true that we can't be successful when a large segment of our population has limited opportunity and ability to grow. The challenge is, I think, identifying the right steps to have substantive change in this problem. I mean, obviously, this problem didn't happen overnight. It's developed over quite a long time. And I'm sure there are communities who have addressed it aggressively, and I'd love to maybe see some particular action items that some communities have done that were successful. And one of the things that I think would be helpful in getting more people to participate and or be on board is consistent use of metrics. I think it's helpful that you're clearly focusing on that kind of thing anyway, which I think is good. But when you were talking about sort of the the different local businesses that y'all might reach out to for a roundtable, it might be nice to develop, I don't want to call it a report card, but like how are these businesses doing now? Not just in terms of minority contracting, but minority contracting with African American, female-owned, other minority, but also in local business. I think it would be good to see how many of these companies that spend large amounts of money are spending that locally, so that we can see really where we might be able to work with some of our local business community to, they may be purchasing something from a Texas company that there's somebody right here at home that could do it great that they don't even know about, so, so that inclusion of local metrics I think would be helpful in identifying how pervasive the problem is and how to maybe identify the opportunities there. I also think that one thing that could be helpful, and echoes a little bit of what Councilman Fleury was saying, is sometimes we see one or two business owners that get celebrated a lot in the community because they may have they're clearly very, very successful. But it might be nice to show somebody who's doing pretty good, show people how to do the path to a sustainable business. Like, almost highlight a success story that's not a rags to ultimate riches success story, but I have a good, consistent business. Here's how to do that. Here's how to shoot for that first so that you can, because once you have more people at that level, there's more people that can grow to that, ultra successful level. But getting more people to feel like, I hate to, in a community that's not had as much access to business growth over time, you don't want somebody who's got a really good business feeling like they're not that good because they're not a $1 billion a year company. I mean, we need to celebrate the medium range successes as well, and show people, help to tell a story about a pathway to that, a pathway to that early success to build on it for the larger success. And really, I think we've talked about this several times in several different groups, but I think it could be helpful for MSI to participate in or to help in distributing and or talk about how to communicate this. But some sort of a maybe checkoff list of how to do business in Shreveport, or how to get your business started here. And we have so many good economic development organizations, but each of them focuses in such a niche area that if there was one maybe kind of comprehensive, maybe that's just a written piece, maybe that's just a pamphlet or a booklet, but something that helps people who have an idea, who have a skill, who have an ability, but are intimidated by the process. If they had one thing that sort of showed them do this, then this, then this, maybe that would help some people enter into the market that otherwise wouldn't. So just some initial thoughts, but certainly look forward to working with y'all and appreciate that you're here today.
Any other comments? Once again, let me express my appreciation, and I just want to end by saying I do know, I've attended a couple where our cashier coordinator, Ms. Barnes, have various seminars and workshops in telling potential contractors and vendors how you can do business with the city of Shreveport. I think that's good, but oftentimes what I hear from the other side, and I want to get your response, is that the climate around here is not conducive to African American businesses. You agree or disagree with that?
I would say it's a challenging climate. It's a challenging climate, and that's what we're here for, to work through that, to get over those challenges. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I look forward, if you put on your calendar on the 6th, I look forward to getting you and Ms. Barnes together and some others, and I'm sure with all these bright minds in this city, we could do something to make these numbers better.
And I think all of you are receiving our monthly newsletter, which tells you what we're doing. And so if you see something that you like or don't like, please let us know so we can adjust.
The mayor would like to make a couple comments.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Thomas, thank you so much for,
Yes, ma'am.
for this report. It is pretty staggering when we look at, the opportunities that are being missed. I want to first say thank you, because it does shed a lot of light on what's happening in our region, in our parish, and particularly in our state. But I had one or two questions, because we want to know how we can continue our efforts to improve from the employment arena on our end in contracting. We're doing some different things to try to help change the dynamics on some of these numbers. I think it is, and I think Chairman Bradford has articulated it best. Until we can actually empower people economically, we're not going to be where we need to be as a city and as a community. One or two questions, because we're seeking ways to help make these numbers different in a positive manner. Your organization has a mission, and I saw your vision. Can you tell me, just probably plain Jane type language, your group is designed to do what to help us change some of these dynamics?
Our group is designed to help particularly those companies that are at least 3 years old
Okay.
move from the level they are to, I would say, a $500,000 business. That would be my number.
Okay.
I want to move you to that level, because then you can employ, a good number of people to sort of make a difference within a city or region. That would be one thing. That involves getting you connected with the right people who make the procurement decisions
Okay.
in these private companies. On the public sector, we would have them work with the parish and the school board and the city, with those managers who handle procurement, to make sure they understand what's the process, how to bid, the bidding process. Bonding becomes a big issue, and we're going to have a meeting on bonding on Thursday, but that's a big issue with a lot of our members, how to get the bond. But our mission is to help you get over that hurdle. That's why I said these hurdles can be negotiated. Our mission is to help you get over it, and to make sure that when you have projects, or when there are projects, that they are broken to a size that it's manageable by that diverse business. So if you have a $20 million deal and they couldn't get the bonding for $1 million, they're not going to be able to compete for that $20 million. But if you can break the bid up in a manageable size, then they can do better and get a part of that economic infrastructure. They're not going to do it at the high level up front.
One of my questions had to do with, what is the difference between your SAC, your Strategic Action Council, and the Minority Supplier Institute? And, and what is the mission of each one of those? And I think you probably, the Supplier Institute is one that you just addressed, right?
Yes, ma'am. The Strategic Action Council covers 12 parishes, and is to make our region healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's our mission, to help us be healthy, wealthy, and wise. And it was founded in an effort to help us attract more businesses to this region, to make us more attractive for businesses to relocate here. And what we found was that we are not going to be able to attract what we want to attract based upon this wealth gap, this wealth gap between our groups. So therefore, the Minority Supplier Institute was born to address that issue, to help that wealth gap to lower. That's not going to happen in a year or two. Let's make this clear. That's a long-term project. But those are the missions of our two institutions. We are a MSI is another entity that's under SAC. So SAC is the governing board,
Right.
and MSI is under SAC.
Okay. And one other question I have, I noticed that in one of your bullets for achievement, 28 million plus in contracts with MSI members. So people have to be a member of the MSI before you can work with them. Is that?
I wouldn't say before I
correct?
can work with them, because we work with people who are not members, to
Okay.
be honest. But we track our members
Okay.
specifically. Yes, ma'am. But if you're not a member, we still work with you. We encourage you to become a member, obviously. And the membership fee is only $200 a year, so it's not like we're trying to get a whole lot of money.
I understand. And my last question is, because we try to collaborate and partner with people to help us change the dynamics here. I've asked Ms. Barnes, who is our administrator for Fair
Yes, ma'am.
Share to, and we've done metrics. So we're going to be looking to see how we improve every year and how we can collaborate with other people. And we've gone from 2 trainings a year to try to get people to understand how to better be able to take advantage of opportunities in contracting to 5. So we've gone, and because unless you educate people about what to do, they don't know how to get it done. So we've improved 150% in 1 year on the training, but we'd like to be able to do some training with your group,
Yes, ma'am.
with your institute, because we
We welcome
think if we can leverage those resources and come together, we can do and reach more people.
Yes, ma'am.
And so because she has people that she knows that you may not know, but we can put them all in the same room and you can offer strategies as well as things that we're doing to be able to help us leverage and reach a larger audience. In looking at other states, and I think you've done that because your data speaks to it, I'd like to sit with you later, and if you can bring us some ideas and strategies from your research on what other people did to overcome some of these challenges that we face in our community and in our state, that's going to help us. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
If some strategies are working someplace else, they may just work here. I noticed that you do collaborations with COHAB, SU, Incubator,
Southern Incubator, yes.
AGC. What about Biomed? I mean, they're doing some things, and I'm not sure exactly what they do. But what I have found since I've been in government is the fact that we work in isolation. Consequently, we don't leverage our resources by unifying and being able to do a better job. So I'd like for us to try to do some things together with all the people who are supposed to be helping us overcome this gap. Does that make sense?
Make a lot of sense.
Makes a lot.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for allowing me to
Thank you,
ask
Mayor,
those
for
questions.
those excellent remarks and questions. I think we've all been benefited by your input, and thank you, sir, for coming, and we look forward to furthering this challenge together.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other council?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, thank you again. Mayor, do you have any recognitions or communications?
I have some announcements,
Please,
if it's my time.
it's your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman and members of the council, I first want to say thank you to those council members who were able to attend the press conference that we just had to share the progress report of this administration's first year in office. At each of your places, you will find a copy of the first year progress report, which includes our first year overview and updated status report of the strategic plan and an update on the 2011 bond projects. Also, you should find a document that lists the 2015 accomplishments by district. We had given that to you earlier, but we did put it in a bound form so that you could have it together and be able to articulate that to the people that you represent in your individual districts. And keeping also, you should find a document that lists those accomplishments, but in keeping with section 5.02 of the city charter, I submit these documents as my annual report, which offers recommendations in the strategic plan for the entire term of this administration. So that plan has in it the recommendations that we've made based on our dialogue with you all, based on our dialogue in engagement in the community, and we've done it for a 4-year period, my first term. And then, so we want you to know that we'll be doing this each year as a report from the administration. The goals in the plan are based on citizen input again, intense dialogue and interaction with you, the city council members, residents, and stakeholders throughout the city. So I ask that these documents are received as my annual report to the council. My second announcement, I would like to thank our emergency crews who have been working to ensure the safety of our citizens during the flooding we've been experiencing. Fire, police, SPAR, public works, water and sewerage, engineering, and so many others of those people who even worked from the office level were all involved in helping us to diligently serve our citizens through this trying time. And I want to say thank you to the City Council for all that you've done and Many of you were there taking those calls, working with us to ensure that our citizens were safe and that we were addressing the needs that we could with the resources that we had. We appreciate your dedication and commitment to attending the needs of our city. I want to extend my appreciation to the Salvation Army for coordinating a meal at my request to thank the folks who have given of themselves to help those in need in our community. I want to also express heartfelt thanks to Tommy and Leslie Scott of the Shreveport Mudbugs. They actually are donating the funding to help with the food that we're going to be, the meal that we're going to be having for all of our people who have worked so diligently. And also the Silver Star Restaurant is donating food to help sponsor the meal. My next announcement, Chief Scott Warburton and the Shreveport Fire Department will celebrate our employees at their annual awards banquet at 6 p.m. this Thursday at Riverview Hall. I'd like to invite all of our council members to come out if you can find the time and if your calendar will allow you to do so. It's a wonderful event to thank the men and women of the Shreveport Fire Department for all they do to respond and care for our citizens. Another announcement, I'm excited about the Kansas City Southern subsidiary Kansas City Southern Railway Company investment of approximately $5.6 million this year in construction and improvement projects on its Shreveport Terminal subdivision. I got a letter just recently saying that they were going to be doing some new construction and improvements in the tune of $5.6 million here in our city. And I'm hoping that, you know, a lot of our folks will take advantage of the opportunities to receive, you know, economic jobs and that kind of thing from this improvement. Construction began this month to include the installation of approximately 37,000 cross ties and improvements to more than 20 public and private grade crossings in our city. I want to mention the Times special report on March 13, which featured the Jewels of Shreveport. Don't know if you all had a chance to read that article, but it was an outstanding one. They selected 10 sites or events that are unique to our area. And I'm proud to say that 7 of those 10 were specifically in Shreveport, and 2 we shared equally with Bossier City. 10 of the 12 bonus jewels were in Shreveport. The 7 jewels included Independence Bowl, State Fair, LSU Health System, Municipal Auditorium, Robinson Film Center, North Gallery, and South Highlands neighborhood. So we have many jewels, and people have recognized that here in our city. I'm also pleased to see the headline in the Times that says Shreveport is a great place for entrepreneurs, and that also came out about a week ago. There was a column by Trent Siskram, who moved back here to start a toy company called Fizz Kids and Carbonation Toys with the help of Cohab. I'm proud to have young people return home to discover that our city really is a great place to live, work, and play. We continue to serve our citizens with numerous events. Since we met last, the city has supported several events, including St. Patrick's Day programs and Easter egg hunts at community centers. Also, we have had Peter and the Wolf performed by the Metropolitan Ballet and Shreveport Symphony Orchestra's Northern Lights at Riverview Hall. We had Patty on the Plaza and Battle of the Gumbo Gladiators at Festival Plaza. Also, artist Nick Cave, as Councilman Jefferson has already alluded to, wrapped up his time here with us, and his production was called As Is at the Municipal Auditorium on Sunday. And we're so glad Mr. Cave was here to share his time and talent with our community. Those are our announcements. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Wow, that was impressive. A lot of great things. And when you said the barbecue for tomorrow and Thursday night, we know that, I mean, these guys started smiling at each other. I don't know. They knew there was going to be some good food, but
Oh, yeah.
But man, I'd be remiss if I did not congratulate you on the report, I do my report, here it is. On this report, your first year progress report. I had a chance to peruse it, and Mayor, it's very outstanding. And it reflects your commitment as you put forward in your strategic plan. You accomplished so much. with the help of the council, I would add.
Yes, sir.
And I would say that that this council and new mayor has put forth a very cooperative attitude. It's clear that all of us have the best interest of this city at heart.
Absolutely.
And you know, although we may disagree sometimes, we're disagreeing on things that we see needs to happen, not disagreeing on what not need to happen, but agreeing on how we can make it happen.
Absolutely.
Whether we go by bus or we go by plane, but we got to go. and that's our disagreement. Because some you know, we inherited some things. We didn't inherit resources that could get us faster where we're going to go.
Right.
But we're going in that direction. And I'm hoping, and I told you at the press conference, I was proud to be standing there as you made such an excellent report. And if we keep working the way we are, gentlemen, we can set a new standard, an example for councils who come after us to meet as it relates to what we can get accomplished if the mayor and the city council continue to work in this effort.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
I think the future of Shreveport is bright, at least for the next 4 years, because we own to something here. And I think the citizens are benefiting, and they should be proud. Streets got paved, cleanup efforts was made, you know, our infrastructure, sewage system is moving forward. I mean, just a lot of things are happening, activities are happening in the city, and that's what can happen when we can just put aside any personal agendas and work toward the betterment of the city together. So, thank you, Mayor, for being open and honest and transparent with the city council. And I look forward to our continual working together in success.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, let's move on with reports. Any questions or concerns that would be addressed to Mr. Green with proper standards? If not, thank you, Mr. Green. We received our other reports, our revenue collection and shooter born focus report on our last council meeting. So we're at our master plan committee report. And Mr. Swain is here. Thank you, Mr. Swain. Come forward.
Thank you. Just to let you know that the Master Plan Subcommittee met on March the 18th, which was last Friday. And some of the things that we discussed and issues that we considered at that meeting. First of all, one of the things that the MPC staff had done at their request was to put together the latest and greatest version of what has either been accomplished or needs to still be accomplished with the master plan. If you recall, the master plan was approved by both the City Council and the Parish Commission back in 2010. And there's a whole list of objectives and goals in there. And so we felt like it was very important and pertinent to come up with an updated version of who is responsible for what and what has been done since 2010. And so we developed a report, which we can provide the rest of the council this copy, but we did provide a copy of this for each of our committee members, and the status of each of these projects. And so we asked the committee to take this home with them, to review it, because I want to explain something. When it comes to the master plan, it's not just the city, it's not just the parish, it's not just the MPC doing something. We're all doing something, but it's also a variety of organizations and private groups and civic groups that are trying to accomplish certain things that were outlined in this approved plan. So one of the things we need to do is kind of regroup and figure out where everybody is. And so that's the purpose of this report, so that we can see what our next steps need to be in trying to fully complete this plan that the people not only supported but paid for with their tax dollars. And so that's something you're going to continue to hear on the status of those projects, and we'll be coming back to you to let you know what's left on the table that needs to be done, and maybe some things have changed since the last when this was approved, they're no longer valid issues, but this still needs to be addressed so that people and the public understand what their investment meant in terms of the master plan. The other thing that we did too at that meeting was that we provided all of our committee members a copy of all the comments we've received since August of 2015 pertaining to the Unified Development Code. And we gave them a copy of the questions and the responses we've made back to those questions and concerns. We also included the stakeholder questions from the various groups and business organizations, their issues, their concerns, and the response, and the progress that we've made since August of 2015. So we do have a copy of that available if you wish to have that as well. Probably something else I wanted to mention too, and I think this is really important, in talking about the master plan implementation report that we did, going back to that topic, one of the key things that came out of that was talking about the citizen advisory group. If you all recall, back in 2010, there was a network of involved citizens that were what I call the fundamental foundation to the master plan. If you wanted to kind of figure out if something was a good idea or something needed to be done, they were the group that you went to say, tell us, what do the people want? Well, that group was very effective back in 2010, but over the years that has kind of faded away because they had no reason to organize. So one of the things that we talked about, and it's referred to as CAG, the Citizen Advisory Group, one of the things that the Master Plan Subcommittee asked for was, how can we reinvigorate that group? How can we update it? Because we've got a lot of folks that either have moved on or passed away, or new people on board that might be wanting to be involved in the process, so that we could complete this master plan implementation. So one of the things that the MPC staff is going to try to do is reach out to the CAG members from the past, ask them if they're still interested in being involved, and if they're not, then give us some suggestions of people that might want to be involved in that group. So that's going to be a fundamental thing that I think both the City Council and the Parish Commission both will find very valuable in trying to push forward with implementing all of the goals and objectives that have been outlined since 2010. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we are. The only other thing I wanted to let you know, even though I come to you guys monthly, but I don't always do that with the Parish Commission, but I did last week have an updated report that I gave to the Parish Commission. It was a very good session because we were able to bring on board a lot of people that have been newly elected, that have not been on that Parish Commission for a long time, and to kind of bring them up to the same level or page of information. And I was able to answer a lot of questions and be able to kind of give them a more of a sure understanding of where we're going with the UDC and what will be coming in the next few months. So that's my report.
Any other questions for Mr. Sweeney? Mr. Sweeney, let me just mention, and I appreciate your monthly reports. I really do. The master plan is a great tool for us as we continue to implement it. I think the mayor used some of the components of it to sort of create her strategy and vision, and she moved forward with that. In most cities, and this city may have been a victim in the past, where it's not that cities fail to plan. Most often they, plan to fail, they fail to plan. We have a plan.
Right.
The plan is getting implemented. The council representatives on that committee are enthusiastic in working to make sure that we get as much of that plan implemented as we can.
Absolutely.
Because it's a good plan. The UDC code is a part of that, and again, I think we're working the kinks out. And hopefully, in a timely manner, late summer, hopefully we'll be prepared to start moving on that.
Right.
Again, and but it's the efforts of MPC, yourself, staff, and the city and the parish that are moving with you. I don't see any resistance. I don't see any obstruction going on here. And if we continue to move with our plan, it won't be one of those scenarios to where, you know, we didn't fail.
Right.
We'll make it successful, and this city and this parish will be better because of it. Thank you for your service, sir.
You bet. And I would like to emphasize, it truly is a team effort. None of us can do this by ourselves, and all of us working together will make the difference, really will. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have some requests to speak, but they're not on this. But do we have no public hearing today, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's move forward with adding. Oh, sorry. Is there any? Yeah, I do. There's some adding legislation.
There are several matters, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 59 will suspend certain provisions of Chapter 10 and Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the sale, dispensing, and consumption of alcoholic beverages at the Great Craft Brewing for the Heart of Gold 5K After Party. This is a routine kind of a resolution that very often gets to the council late because the organizers don't realize everything that has to be done. And if this is added to the agenda, we will put it on the consent agenda unless we receive other instructions. Resolution number 60 authorizes the mayor to make application for grant funding with the Keep Louisiana Beautiful organization through the Healthy Communities Grant. This is a two-reader, so if it is added to the agenda, it will be on for introduction. Resolution 61 is a resolution to support the Catawba Parish's Port Commission's property tax renewal and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Last Thursday, I believe it was, the chairman called when I was having caregiver duties and asked me to get this on the agenda, and it fell through the cracks. I did not, but it is here today to be added to the agenda, and hope that it gets added. Resolution ordinance 34A is an ordinance to amend section 90-197 of the Shreveport City Code of Ordinances to increase the terms and penalty for speeding in a 25 mile per hour below speed zone. This was on as ordinance number 34. There was simply some wordsmithing, and rather than put it on and then amend it, it was decided to pull the first one off and to add this one to the agenda.
Okay.
So those are the items to be added, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and all except for 61 was made aware to us on yesterday, and we'll deal with those now. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of adding number 59 to the agenda? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of adding number 59 to the agenda? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition of adding resolution 59 to the agenda? If there is none, what do I hear?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Bowman, that we would add number 59, resolution 59 to the agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. That motion passes 5-0 to our chamber. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of adding resolution 60 to the agenda? Is there anybody here who would like to speak in favor of adding resolution 60 to the agenda? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition of adding resolution 60 to the agenda? Seeing none, been moved by Councilman Fleury, seconded by Councilman Bowman, that resolution 60 be added to the agenda. Any discussion? If not, please vote. That motion passes 5-0 to out of the chamber. Number 61, is there any, let me do this, because this was not on the agenda and it wasn't up for review or to be read by the public. So, Mr. Clerk, can you read that resolution for me? Resolution number 61.
This is a resolution to support the Catawba Parish's Port Commission's property tax renewal. By Councilman Willie Bradford. Whereas the Caddo Bossier Parish's Port Commission was created by the Louisiana Legislature in 1962 and is a governing authority charged with regulating commerce and traffic in the port area and developing, operating, maintaining, and marketing the port complex. And whereas in April of 1993, the citizens of Caddo and Bossier parishes voted to provide a 2.5 mil property tax for the development of the port complex. And whereas Caddo Bossier Parish's Port Commission has strategically and carefully utilized the citizens' $88 million of property tax revenue and returned $1.5 billion of public and private infrastructure and investment. And whereas the Caddo Bossier Parish's Port Commission has been careful stewards of the citizens of Caddo and Bossier Parish's money by a return on investment of $17 for every $1. Whereas the Caddo Bossier Parish's Port Commission presently owns 2,300 acres and is landlord to 17 companies, employing 1,500 at the port complex. And whereas for every direct job at the port, 4 indirect jobs are created in the parishes of Caddo and Bossier in support of the companies at the port. And whereas an expansion of 3,000 acres will generate new permanent and indirect jobs to this area's economy, based upon the past strategy, total additional direct and indirect jobs are estimated to be 15,000. And whereas the Caddo Bossier Parish's Port Commission has placed on the April 9, 2016 ballot a renewal of the 1993 2.5 property tax millage for 25 years. And whereas the funds derived from the millage will be dedicated to acquiring land in both Caddo and Bossier parishes, constructing access roads, railroads, warehouses, and utilities, transfer and storage facilities, and other port transportation and infrastructure facilities, title of which will be vested in the public. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shreveport in due legal and regular session convened that the City Council supports the Caddo Bossier Parish's Port Commission's property tax renewal and encourages each citizen who is a registered voter in Caddo or Bossier parishes to vote for the renewal proposition.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of adding this legislation to the agenda? Anyone here who would like to speak in favor of adding this resolution to the agenda? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition of adding this legislation to the agenda? Yes, sir. Yes. I'm asking the public. Please come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kenneth Krepp at 157 Archer Avenue, Shreveport, 71105. I was concerned this might be added. I heard yesterday after the commission approved a similar resolution last Thursday. I just think it's inappropriate for one governmental body to speak in favor or against a millage, new or renewal, whether it's port, public safety, or school board. The commission decided to vote, not unanimously, last Thursday to support this. The Broadmoor Neighborhood Association has a meeting tonight at which the chair, Eric England, has been invited. We're not sure he's going to be there. This is the last council meeting between now and the election, so it's sprung on last minute. The number of jobs they say they've created is far greater than the number of cars in the parking lot during the day on a weekday by several hundred. Either, my brain tells me, either several hundred people have a flu or they walk to work, or the jobs are overstated, I think. Studies in the past have shown that for every 3 vehicles in a parking lot at a major plant facility, there are 4 employees. You can take 100 cars, that means there's about 130 employees. Some people carpool, most people come to work alone. But when the cars are several hundred fewer than the stated number of employees on a workday, I can't explain that other than to wrap my head around the overstatement of the jobs. Using the number of employees they say they have, divided by the cost, is about $42,700 per job. If on the day my friend counted the vehicles, everybody came to work, 1 in a vehicle, no carpooling. If that were true, the cost gets up to about $108,000 per job. I just encourage y'all not to add it, or if you do add it, to vote it down, because I think it's a bad precedent. Thank you.
Mr. Kraft, would you take a question?
I don't know if that's appropriate. Yeah, sure.
Is it appropriate, Mr. Thompson?
No, you have the privilege to ask anybody you want to ask.
On those job numbers that you're talking about, would you not count those warehouses that they help fund and finance? Maybe, out by the Coke plant, west of town. There's a place out there called Tire
That's
Rack.
physically somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could you count those jobs?
I would think that's reasonable.
Okay, that's what it,
Yeah, that's
I was just trying to
some
figure out how we
degree
would give
more.
the number.
Right.
That they had sought, maybe they counted.
That's a valid
those
question.
jobs, because I do know they help finance some pretty big distribution with their bonds out there, so that's all I have, Mr. Kraft.
What we should expect, and I guess it's not to be added, Mr. Clerk, there's no similar resolution asking this body to support renewing 3 Caddo Parish School Board millages, which run for fewer years and are much more necessary, in my judgment, than the port. I guess the school board could have asked y'all, and y'all would be considering adding that. Once we do this and add it and vote it in, expect to be bombarded on any election in the future to support this, that, or the other. It's coming. That's why a few years ago on a constitutional amendment, I said, let's don't go to fiscal sessions and even only years when money needs to be raised. We'll have special sessions out the wazoo. This year is a good example. You think you're saving money, but I would ask y'all not to add this, but certainly it's your call, and Mr. Jenkins is not here, and I just found out about it today. I heard a rumor it might be added yesterday from a friend of mine who works at the port. He says they're going to ask the council to add it. I guess they saw that the commission voted.
No, that's, please, thank you, sir. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. I'll make my comments on debate. Any other who would like to speak in opposition of adding this to the agenda? If not, I would move that we would add Resolution 61 to the agenda.
So moved. Discussion, Mr. Chair.
Let me identify that the chair made the motion and Mr. Bowman seconded the motion. Debate, Mr. Councilman Corbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I did not realize that Ken was going to make some comments because he stole a little bit of my thunder there, but that's okay. Thank you, Ken. I'm certainly in support of what the port does, but I'm not in support, and I don't think it's our role to choose to support or not support other renewals. I think every tax renewal that an entity does should stand on its own. If we had a tax renewal coming up next month, I would not expect the port or the commission or the school board to pass legislation supporting that. If somebody wants to put a resolution out there at some point in the future supporting what the port is doing and the businesses they're bringing and improvements they're making to our city, I'm all for that. And certainly I could vote no and keep this from being added to the agenda. I'm not going to do that. But when we do vote on it today, I won't support it, not because I don't support the port and their mission, but I just don't think this is what elected bodies need to be doing for other elected bodies and renewals. I don't think that's good practice. I hate to open that door, and I do agree with Mr. Kraft that that's a door that won't easily be shut.
Let me just say this, and let me apologize that this wasn't on the agenda for today, prior to today. I authored and sponsored this legislation. As you know, I was out last week. I was out on my regular job and from any council work. Because I was preparing to bury my brother. And the communication broke down where I did not follow up with the clerk to get this on the agenda for yesterday. So that's my fault and my responsibility for not being there. But yet, I wanted it to be addressed for this reason. The Port Commission is not an elected body. The Port Commission is an entity that has developed itself into being the most powerful economic engine that this parish has. It has created jobs, it generates millions of dollars in income and salaries for the people. It's, in the numbers that you presented, Mr. Kraft, is not accurate, not whatsoever. The Port Commission territory is parish, not down on that property. There's companies that have 2 and 3 ships. Did you go back in the middle of the night and count? They cover other industrial parks. They have oversight and creating financing for those entities that are outside of the port. And my point is that this is not a new tax. This is a renewal. You know, it has been successful in accomplishing what it was designed to do, and we would be doing a disservice, but not supporting it because it's a part of us. We have appointees who are there representing us, who are there to make sure that our interests. Bossier has their appointees, the parish has their appointees, we have our appointees, and we would not want to let this opportunity pass us by without weighing in and letting the public know that the city of Shreveport supports and will continue to endorse the work of the Shreveport Bossier Port Commission. So I'm asking that my colleagues would send the message that we support the job development, the economic impact that Shreveport Bossier Port Commission, Kettle Bossier Port Commission has on this city and this region. There's not any other discussion. I would call for the vote. All those, please cast your vote. That motion passes 6 to, I'm looking at it, 5 to 0, 1 abstention. Is that what I'm seeing?
No.
No.
What I'm seeing?
5-0 to add to the agenda.
5-0 to add to the agenda. 2 out of clerk. There go your glasses. Thank you for your
layer up there.
Thank you for your vote. I'm sorry. Okay, you may continue, sir.
We have 34A, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. There anyone here who would like to speak in favor of adding 34A to the agenda? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of adding 34A to the agenda? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of adding 34A to the agenda? In my understanding, Mr. Clerk, I will be clear that 34A will replace 34, if approved. Moved by Councilman Fleury, second by the chair. That 34A would be voted to add it to the agenda. Any discussion? If not, please vote. That motion passes 5 to 0. Thank you very kindly for your vote. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Yeah. Okay, and I said earlier that I don't have any public comments regarding any legislation that's on the agenda today. So we will move forward. Mr. Clerk, please continue.
Mr. Chairman, we're on the consent agenda on resolutions to be adopted. Resolutions on the consent agenda to be adopted are resolutions 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 57, 58, and the add-on 59 concerning the Heart of Gold 5K after party.
Yes. Okay.
A motion to adopt the consent agenda would be in order.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman second. Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Corbin. Any discussion on the consent agenda? If not, please vote. Motion passes 5 to 0, 2 out of the chamber. Please
Chairman,
continue.
now to the regular agenda legislation, resolutions on second reading and final passage, which only require one reading. Resolution 42 authorizes use of certain equipment by Shreveport Green for the Great American Cleanup.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Bowman. Any discussion? If not, please vote. Motion passes 5 to 0. Please continue.
Resolution 43 authorizes the use of equipment by the Department of Air Force, specifically Barksdale Air Force Base.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Fleury. Any debate? If not, please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
44 authorizes the use of equipment by the North Shreveport Business Association.
Second. Moved by Councilman Fleury, seconded by Councilman Everson. Any debate? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Resolution 45 authorizes the execution of a retainer agreement with Gregorio, Chafin and Johnson LLC, Joshua K. Williams LLC, and Curtis Joseph.
Moved by
Jr.
Councilman Bowman, seconded by Councilman Everson. Are there any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Resolution 6-1 was added. It's a resolution to support the Caddo Bossier Parish Sport Commission's property tax renewal.
Moved by the chair. Seconded by Councilman Bowman. Are there any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 4-1, 2 out of chamber. Please continue, sir.
We're not into introduction of resolutions. There are two resolutions. 56 authorizes submission of the 2016 Annual Action Plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And the add-on resolution 60 authorizes the mayor to make application for grant funding with the Keep Louisiana Beautiful organization through the Healthy Communities Grant, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Fleury. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
We're now to introduction of ordinances. Ordinance number 31 amends ordinance number 84 of 2015 and the 2016 budget for the Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 32 enacts Article 7, Division 7 of Chapter 90 of the Code of Ordinances relative to downtown parking, permit zones, and otherwise providing with respect thereto. Ordinance 33 authorizes the mayor to execute a lease with the Caddo Parish District Attorney's Office for the lease of certain parking spaces. The add-on ordinance number 34A, an ordinance to amend Section 90-197 of the Shreveport City Ordinances to increase the terms and penalties for speeding in a 25-mile-per-hour zone or below speed zone. Ordinance number 23 amends the 2016 budget for the general fund concerning the marshal's salary. I'm sorry, that's on ordinance.
Yes, yeah, went a little far.
Those are all of the ones to be added.
moved.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by the chair that we would introduce these. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, a motion to remove ordinance number 34 is in
I so move that 34 would be removed and replaced with 34A. Second. Moved by the chair, seconded by Councilman Everson for removal of 34. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, we're now in ordinances on second reading and final passage. The first is ordinance 23. It amends the 2016 budget for the general fund. This sets the marshal's salary, but it does not add any additional money
So moved.
to the marshal's budget.
Moved by the chair, seconded by Councilman Bowman. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Continue.
Ordinance number 24 amends the 2016 retained risk budget.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Fleury. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 2 out of chamber.
This is a companion to ordinance number 24. This is ordinance 25. It amends the 2016 capital improvements budget.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Corbin. Any discussion? None. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Ordinance 26 declares the city's intention to acquire full ownership of certain adjudicated properties for Community Development Civil Rights Museum.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Bowman. Any debate? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Continue.
Ordinance 27 declares the city's intention to acquire full ownership of certain adjudicated properties for the Community Development's Heritage Place project.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by the chair, seconded by Councilman Everson. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Please continue.
Ordinance 29 amends the 2016 Downtown Parking
So moved.
Enterprise Fund budget.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Flory. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Ordinance 30 is a companion to 29 that amends the 2016 General
moved.
Fund budget.
Moved by Councilman Everson, seconded by Councilman Flory. Any debate? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Chairman, those are all of the ordinance matters on the regular agenda, and I'm not aware of any move to withdraw anything from the tabled agenda.
Okay. I'm not either, so thank you, sir.
We do have two property standards appeals that remain from yesterday.
Okay, we'll take those up now. I spoke to the gentleman, I asked him to be here. I don't know if he's here. He's not here. Okay, what I told him, and I tell, come on up, Terrence, let's talk. We talked also. Great. You want me to go first?
It's PSG 1500-752 and PSG 1500751.
Okay. I had a chance to visit with the gentleman. Terrence also communicated with him today. I went out on the site. He did say, Mr. Crawford, I guess you could confirm that he said the city hauled off that trash that was on the curb.
That's correct.
Okay. And that's gone.
Yes, sir.
What's left on the property is shrubbery, limbs that's to be going down, chopped down, however they do it, okay? And my position, council, is that that's nothing more, nothing less than what we do for our citizens. We allow them, as taxpayers, citizens of this city, the right to clean up around their properties, and that we will, if they timely request a service from our nickel boon or our solid waste, we go out and we haul that away. That's nothing more, nothing less than we already do. So I would move that we will give him a 30-day postponement to get that done. Moved by the chair, seconded by Councilman Flory, that we will give the gentleman, his name is Mr. Glass, Tyrone Glass, 30-day.
Mr. David, Milton David.
What's the name? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. This is the guy that called me about the problem I told Mike Lewis about.
Milton Davis.
Yeah, Milton Davis. Okay.
David.
Yeah, Milton Davis. I'm sorry, I got all these notes here, y'all. So anyway, Mr. Davis, and a 30-day extension to clean up around his property. And I told him that he need to call Nickel Solid Waste to get a truck out there prior to him tearing it down. I mean, getting all the debris out of his yard. In the discussion regarding this motion, if not, please vote. Please vote.
Get it up there.
I'm sorry, it's 4 yes and 1 no.
Motion passes 4-1, 2 out of the chamber. Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council.
What happened on 30 days?
Well, he'll bring it back, and then we'll decide what our further action is. Okay? But he felt, I mean, again, he repeated to me what he said yesterday, and this, I'm really out of order saying this, that the rain hampered his efforts over the last 2 weeks. Okay. Do we have any other appeals, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay. Do we have any reports from any officers, boards, or committees?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Cole.
The Audit and Finance Committee needs to have a meeting to go over some outstanding audits out there and get some information. So I'm going to call a meeting for Monday, April 11th at 2 o'clock.
Monday, April 11th, 2 o'clock, Audit and Finance Committee. Those members who are on that committee, please make provisions to be there. It's very important. Thank you, Councilman. Any other committees like to report? Not, we're down to our clerk's report.
Clerk's report?
Clerk's report.
Not surprised.
What you got for us?
We don't have a report today, Mr.
Oh, okay. We accept that. You got to make up something one day. All right. Okay. All right, we're down for additional comments from the mayor. Mayor?
No additional comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And any additional comments from any of our council members? Okay, I had something I wanted to say, but, and I appreciate you guys voting for the use of some city resources for the Great American Cleanup, because the cleanup is, and I met with Donna Curtis. Hey, she's here. Donna Curtis.
Yes, she is.
Come here, please come up. I want you to say something.
She just got here.
Some exciting news for the residents of District A, Cherokee Highland Park. Tell us what we're going to do.
Thank you. Well, we trying to do
Give your
this.
name. I'm sorry, Donna. Give your name and address.
I'm sorry, Donna Curtis, 775 Thor Boulevard is my home. 3625 Southern Avenue is Shreveport Green. For years, we've been trying to work on the bayou up in Cherokee Park that wraps around the whole neighborhood up there. Years ago, it was abandoned by the levee board, and so it's been a sticky situation on how the city or the parish can go in there and clean this disgusting.
Correct.
Willie, is what it is. Today we were up there and there are tires. We counted 4 buggies that we could see. It's covered in green slime. It's really disgusting. There are a couple of issues there. The first thing we've decided to do is, because it's private land that was deeded back to the homeowners and the businesses from the levee board, we've decided to go in with the permission of the homeowners and send volunteers in there to clean everything we can get in a boat and that volunteers can do. Then hopefully we'll go back and be able to cut some of the brush and the dead trees and everything out of there. For years, the citizens have been complaining that, especially starting now through fall, there are snakes, rats, varmints, everything, and it's just a disgusting area. And the problem is that there's no outlet for it. It fills up with rainwater and with water off of the streets, and there's no way for it to go, so it almost becomes stagnant. So we're going to work hard to see what we can do this, and that's what we discussed this morning. And I think it's a good start. There are some other issues that need to be fixed, and I think the city has a small obligation. I'm not sure. We're checking with Public Works to see if some of this around the edge is on city property, and they can help us get started anyway with that. So that's where we are there. That is all going to happen on the Great American Cleanup, April 9th, which the city and Mayor Tyler's office has graciously and generously partnered with us on, and we are getting so many additional volunteers through your office, Mayor, as well as those, our regular 700 or 800 that we have every year for that one day for citywide cleanup. I encourage all of you councilmen, please, to talk to your constituents and get them to participate. It's a really easy way to make a difference, and it certainly does make a difference, and it sets the tone for the rest of spring. That's April 9th, the Great American Cleanup. You've all will get information about it. We hope to see you there. if not working, just coming to pat everybody on the back and say thank you. The second thing is last week was our Leaders Against Litter that we postponed because of the flood. We have moved it through the Friday before the Great American Cleanup to sort of bring all the leaders in the community together, say thank you for all your help, everything that you did for the flood victims, and then to kind of kick off the Great American Cleanup the next day. We're so pleased with it. We've had, we're already to capacity almost with the volunteers, but we'll just order some more T-shirts and get some more bags and outfit everybody. So if there are no questions,
Donna, what was that date again for the rescheduled Leaders Against Litter?
the 8th.
The 8th, okay, good. Thank you.
And I think the letter just went out for that. I had to do that. The governor's office wouldn't do that this time. And I've been in touch with Billy Nungesser's office because he's the one that this falls under. I was kind of hoping he might be able to come up, but we haven't heard back from him. We're going through Keep Louisiana Beautiful. So we have the 8th, we have Leaders Against Litter, and then we have the 9th, the Great American Cleanup, and then it's bam, bam, bam. We have cleanups every weekend. So it's looking good. We're just about out of tree planting season, so if any of you have any trees to plant, let me know in the next couple of days, because we don't like to plant after the end of March. Other than that, if there are no questions, thank you for your support.
Let me acknowledge it, because all the people don't know it. You and I have been knowing each other for a little over 25 years.
At least, yes.
and back in 1990, when we was with the Queensboro Neighborhood Association, Donna assisted us in launching our very first community-wide cleanup campaign.
Right.
And
we thought we wouldn't get, I had a bet with Mike Strong at that time that we wouldn't have 100 people. And I remember I said, okay, it's lunch. You buy lunch if we have. And we had about 300 and something people. And we went to lunch.
The irony is that effort, which pretty much, I mean, we sort of eradicated all the undesirable things that was, that was images that was hurting our community. And we kind of maintained it. And I'm hoping that this effort on the 8th, on the 9th, when it comes to that bayou in Cherokee Park, I mean, it's so horrible. But I think if we can get that cleaned up, we can maintain it.
Right. Once we get that initial clean, and that's what I wrote today. The thing that litter is associated with numerous things, but the most is that it shows nobody cares, so it opens it up to crime. There are higher crime rates in littered areas. We know that it's not as healthy because it attracts all sorts of rodents and everything. We know property values decrease when there's a littered area. And we know that it's just not as pleasant a place to live, and so you're not as satisfied with your place in life at that point. So once we get this started, they can see how good it looks. Councilman Bradford and I looked at some places where we could do some enhancement along the two entries into Cherokee Park right there with trees, some easy shrubs that we could plant that would really transform that area and hopefully maybe even work to trap some of the litter that's coming off of the streets and into, of course, education is number one, and that's really what this is all about, is educating the citizens. You can't throw things down. You've got to clean up after yourself in the streets, because we've discovered today probably 99% of that is coming off the streets and off the busy byways. Yeah. And people are using it. We saw right there, they're beginning to use it as a dump site now because there were branches and a pile of all sorts of things right there.
Donna, on the Great American Cleanup, how are we going to attack these automobile tires? I believe it's in Councilman Everson's district on North Market that the old Rose Oil, they pile up and the man lives in Timbuktu and nobody can reach him and they just continue to mount up. Is that something we're going to be able to address?
We address that now, and Mayor Tyler can tell you her office with Arlena and the police department and DEQ have just done a tire sweep. We're really working with the mayor's office is leading the charge with the police and DEQ and Wildlife and Fisheries to try to get everybody in compliance, all of our tire dealers into compliance, so we know where the tires are going and how they're being transported and where they're ending up.
Can I take a second to thank y'all for, there was a particular place in District B where it was just a small operation where they do tires and a little small auto shop. But these people would let their tires just stack up on lots around the area, and it's in an area where, doesn't get a lot of attention always, and it drove me crazy. I reported it. I will tell you within like the snap of my finger, every one of those tires was gone. No. So I don't know who wagged a finger at them or did what, but whatever was supposed to happen happened fast.
Well,
so.
I saw Terrence up here, and Terrence had been with us. His property standards went with us, because there are also property standard issues that accompany these tire places. We've learned that you can't have over 150 unusable waste tires. You can't have over 150 waste tires on site at any time.
Somebody must have told these people that, because they must have had 400, and I mean they were gone.
If it's 150, they're out of compliance. They're not only Shreveport's ordinance, but they're also DEQ where they can be fined. Right. Secondly, they need to be covered. If you've got those waste tires out there, they've got to be covered. And that was another thing they looked for that day. To compound this problem, the Tire Enterprise Fund in Baton Rouge is ZIP. We have a grant to pay for the tires we collect this year, and we get up to 750 tires off the streets of Shreveport during the Great American Cleanup. We hire a company to come take them away and take them and recycle them or deal with them in a proper manner. And they've always done it for us free of charge because there was the enterprise fund there. This year, they called us and said, it's $2 a tire. Our grant that we have for this cleanup will cover that this year. But that'll be $1,500 right there that we don't usually
have to spend.
Like to pay. But fortunately, we were able to adjust our grant, and it'll cover that this year. But tires are a big problem, particularly now that we have the two viruses going around, the two viruses. That come from mosquitoes, and that's a breeding from mosquitoes. Tires can go in the landfill, but they have to be cut in half, and that's a whole nother chore. They can't go in the landfill whole. They can go in if they're cut in two, because then they won't float to the surface. The whole problem is floating to the surface. And we also learned that if your tires catch on fire, if you're dumping tires somewhere on your property and they catch on fire, that's a felony. So you can get fined big time for that.
Well, we have a lot of problem with that in the city. There's a lot of people that just put their tires anywhere and everywhere.
Well,
and,
we saw 4 just as we stood there and did this in that bayou, because they're hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Don, let me ask you that. Mayor, can I ask?
Yes, sir.
I'll wait. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Arlena Agcree, I need to give her credit for leading the effort.
Okay.
On the tire situation,
Abatement
and she's working with Mr. Woods, Terrence Green, Shreveport Police Department, and the state.
DEQ and Wildlife Fisheries.
So she's come up with a strategy, and that's why you can see those tires missing, because they've gone out on a tour to the different places that have been identified.
Yes.
And they're asking, they're actually talking to these people, letting them know when they're in violation. But I just wanted to give her credit because she has worked her heart out. She's in charge of the litter abatement beautification campaign from the city.
Arlena was the queen tire lady.
Absolutely.
She got us all started.
And she is doing a phenomenal job. And she's not here this afternoon with us, but I did want to give her credit for that.
I mean, her efforts is noticeable and appreciated. It's because we see the difference. Okay. But I want to ask Donna a couple more things before you leave. While we was out there, even though I told you we had a resolution for you to afford you some opportunities for some city resources to help with this. But specifically, we discovered that we're going to need some boats and some type of barge to get that stuff out of there.
Yes, there are 2 issues. We're going to need boats because we need to get out to it, and we think the flat John boats will be the easiest. Canoes are too unstable. But we can provide the bags, the buckets, the reachers. We've gotten, while we were sitting at the table today, we contacted somebody who can get us 10-foot poles with hooks on them to get the things. But we need people with boats. And there are several people that work with us regularly in litter cleanup on the water, and we will work with them to try to get them to help us with it, to help provide that. Our neighborhood representative said he had connections. He had 4 or 5 boat people in mind that would come that day. And keep in mind, the biggest problem in this specific cleanup is that it's private property that city water flows onto and stays. That's the biggest problem. So we will hopefully be able to access some of the city's resources to help us get the area around the public area that is maintained, between the street and 10 feet in. We will need the city to help us that, and that'll help us get started. That's number one. The second thing is providing some sort of a catchment to catch the litter before it gets out into the bayou itself. And Willie and I have been talking about that, and we'll need to talk to Mr. Woods and Mr. Negretti and see what we can work out with that.
And I was going to request, Mayor, and I spoke with Brian earlier, and he understands some of the things we need. He agreed that he's going to try to make those things available, especially the grass cutting and some of the limbs and brush abatement along that North Thomas. There's 2 bridges that
It's
goes
the
in North
easement,
Thomas
it's the
and
public easement.
East-West Sagana or something like that.
Right.
But I would request that Mike go with me and visit the site.
Absolutely.
Because if we can put some type of apparatus, because we discovered that all the water goes down this drain, to try to try to create some type of apparatus that will catch that trash, cans, paper, all that kind of stuff before it gets to the lake. So I just want to go with him and maybe Donna when she gets back next week, just to look at what could be developed to do that.
It's there are things we can do to help the situation, and we always say 90% of it's education, but in the meantime, if you can show how good it's going to look, and we know from experience and from studies that have been done, people tend not to litter areas that are clean and attractive. So that's another check if we can get that done.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work, but I think that our neighborhood representative was so enthusiastic and very hopeful that he could get a lot of people. We figured we needed about 25 to 30 people to do several staging areas and have 2 in the boats and work that. So we'll need at least about 30 people.
And if I could just say one thing, we're going to honor the request of our
Thank
council
you.
members.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's a short-term solution in my mind. A long-term solution is to educate our people, because if they keep trashing these communities, and somehow we have got to get them to develop pride, as you've said, in their neighborhoods, and that's our long-term goal.
Yes, ma'am.
Is to try to develop and educate people about, how not to litter and why it's necessary for them to know what happens when you do litter and trash up your community. So, I know it's going to take us a little while to get there, but somehow we've got to get people to buy into and take
it's
pride
property
in their community.
values. It's hitting them in their pocket. That's what's so frustrating, is that it's not an easy fix because it's a habit we've got to change.
I know. It's
But
a culture change. It really is.
It's culture, and it's all over the community. It's all over the country. It's not just Shreveport.
I know.
But we're a throwaway society, and there's more to throw away. So
We're gonna turn this into a community cleanup campaign, even though the bayou is going to be our principal.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm gonna need some dumpsters put out there prior to the night.
Yes,
But
sir.
Donna, the community representative brought something to our attention also regarding people blowing their stuff into those outlets.
Right. That's another problem that I know Public Works will join us in. It is against the ordinance to blow leaves, grass, anything into the street. We see a lot of the yard businesses, yard companies doing that. That's against the ordinance. It does go to the drain. It ends up stopping up and ends up clogging up the drain. Eventually, of course, it'll decay, but maybe not, particularly if we have a significant rain event like we had last week. If we'd had a lot of that, if we'd already done a lot of cutting and we already had a lot of that in the system, it could have been worse. So it is against the law. It's against the ordinance. You can be fined. It's on our "Don't Keep It Classy, Don't Be Trashy" flyer that we give out and that we included in the water bill. Everybody in the city got it. But it is against the law to blow leaves and grass into the street. And it's a waste of resources, frankly. Blow it back on your yard and leave it a day and let it mulch back and fertilize your grass. Thanks, Willie. I'd forgotten about that. But that's one of the things that was real important. And he was surprised to hear that. They get that nice brochure in the mail and they didn't turn it over and look at the big X that said no grass.
We are so proud of you and your work and helping keep this city
Well, thank
clean.
you, Willie. It's all volunteers, and we have your support and the mayor's support, and it's invigorated us. Y'all have helped us get invigorated, and we're ready to
How long you
go.
been with Shreveport Green? At least, what, 30 years? I mean,
Excuse me?
how long you been doing
Oh,
what you're doing?
26 years.
26.
You don't see it now, but I have a lot of gray hair under here.
Okay.
But thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for your
you.
support.
Thank you for being
And we'll
here.
hope to see you all on the 8th and then the 9th.
Thank you, Donna. Appreciate you coming down. Anybody? I'm sorry, Donna, I'm sorry. Councilman Corbin wanted to ask you a question.
I think we missed a opportunity for a good photo op this past week, and Councilman Fleury will probably know what I'm talking about because our districts are kind of on the south end of town. You know, with the recent rains, as Bayou Pierre, Sand Beach, the other waterways were so high. Now that water has begun to go down, especially the first few days it was going down, it was staggering how many styrofoam cups and boxes, you name it, but how much litter was at the high water mark in all those bayous. And I'm not going to blame it on inner city, but all that stuff flows through the bayou, and it ends up where you really see the massive amount of it. And that's the kind of thing, if we get another big rain like that, maybe we all ought to take pictures of it and find a way to get that resource out there, because I don't think that, we talk about yard waste. I see people on occasion throw their fast food container in the storm drain. And I don't think
Oil.
that
They pour
I don't
oil.
think that people realize that that's not just going to some garbage bin in China when you put it in there. It's probably going to a waterway and probably flowing south.
We know the east side all drains into the river. Everything you put in the street or in those drains goes straight to the river untouched. Doesn't go through any kind of a purification. It goes straight. You're playing in the river. You're eating from the river. It's appalling if you really think about it. On the west side of town, it all goes to Cross Lake. That's the basin. That's the water catchment for Cross Lake. That's what we drink. Fortunately, before we drink it, it goes through a big process. But that's a problem, and you're exactly right, Councilman. We know that after a big event like this, it gets washed out of garages. It gets washed out of, if you've got a little trash area and you're maybe fenced in, it'll float up and float away on your property. After a flood, it's appalling, of course, and then people that were flooded, unfortunately, the garages and everything, oil, grease, herbicides, everything is flushed out and goes down to the south of town, and it gets bogged on its way to the Red River, which goes straight into the Mississippi, which goes right into the Gulf, and there we have it. And most of it is plastic and will not disintegrate, and styrofoam. Thank you. It's a problem, but we're aware of that, and we're trying to get the people up in Southern Hills and out in Broadmoor to come and join us and do so. We've got people at Sand Beach Bayou We've got a team doing all of that area, which was surprising, how much litter there is there now. We've got a team specifically for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We're down to public comments now. I have two, but if anyone who wants to speak to the council on any topic you choose, if you have not submitted a form request to speak, you may do so now, because once we have them all in, we'll conclude our public comments. Our first comments will be coming from Kenneth Kraft.
Kenneth Kraft, 157 Archer Avenue, Shreveport, 71105. Sammy wanted to go first, but he'll have to follow me this
Kraft,
time.
you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's a long word with the previous speaker, 26 minutes. You invited her for a word, but just
She came
for
at
the
the request
record.
of the chair, see.
Uh,
You get your
Public
counsel.
safety, okay, at noon tomorrow in Omaha, the storm sirens will go off. They do every Wednesday. They went off in Oklahoma City today, other cities. We talk a lot over the years, and I've talked for 32 years about storm sirens. The highest obligation of this body, this mayor and these 5 of 7 and the other 2 council members, public safety. We've spent time in the last 32 years talking about little free libraries and development codes, and you said it earlier in the meeting, you want to do everything you can to make the city safe. Well, either all these other cities are spending money foolishly on warning sirens, but with the rain last week and the threat of the Red Chute Bayou breaching, which fortunately it didn't, but you know, whether it's a tornado or a flood or any kind of emergency, the money we've spent over the years that's been totally wasted in my mind is in the millions as a city. Whether it's $5 million for downtown that it's wasted, or money to put a traffic circle on Thrill Hill that's bottom that's taken out and wasted, and we don't do anything. I can't find a thing in the public record, Mr. Chairman, over the last so many years at a Homeland Security, a GOSEP, a public safety and infrastructure, any meeting of the school board commission, GOSEP, council where we talk about sirens. And it just do me a favor after the inevitable storm hits, and instead of moving by bus, as you mentioned, or how we get there, we'll be moving by ambulance and hearse. And just don't say it could not have been prevented. I'm 68 years old, and in my whole life, safety is talked about. Little is done, and after the tragedy, public officials appointed and elected say we could not have prevented this. It's usually not true. You can't prevent the rain or the tornado itself, but you can prepare. The 20 folks who died at Albert Pike on, got to Google the iBrain, on 6/11/10, drowned because they were notified at 2:30 a.m. by text message. Blast them awake with a storm siren. They would have lived. You know, when the Little Missouri and the Caddo Rivers rose, we're going to have more flooding. I was before y'all in January saying in March the Red River is going to be above moderate flood stage. I went to the commission in January. Don't blame me because it happened. It was easily predictable. It's easily predictable that we'll have more disasters, natural and man-made, and we need to warn our citizens. At least talk about it at the infrastructure committee next month, the meeting. But don't say it could not be prevented when it can be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Just in time.
That's fired. Sammy Mears.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Shreveport, 71101. I come today because of a concerned situation that happened 2 weeks ago after I got home. I got home and I was going to call Kevin Rambin after we had this flash flood and let him know that I made it home from the council. And unfortunately, for 2 weeks now, my telephone has been out. I've been with AT&T for a long time, and I was very upset. Even today when I came in here to the chambers, I was very upset because for 2 weeks, AT&T should have had this thing resolved, and I've had to use about 2 or 3 other telephones to contact AT&T and asking them, what is the situation going on? Why have y'all not resolved the situation in restoring my telephone? Why is everyone else getting to use their telephone and I'm the only one who seems to be without? Well, I came today and I wanted to address this because I feel like I'm getting the runaround with AT&T. I have asked them several times to get my phone restored. It hasn't been done. They've had 2 weeks recently to get this situation resolved and it's not done. I need help and I need it now. I want my phone restored. It's not too much for me to ask for them to restore a dial tone when they've got the power on. They restore the power, but there's no dial tone. And I asked them today, what is the problem? Why can't y'all get this done so I can have my phone back? And I just feel like they're giving me all sorts of runarounds saying, we'll have it done on this date, we'll have it done on the 18th, we'll have it done on the 27th, 2nd at 7 p.m. I doubt when I get home that it will even be working. Then they said it'll be on March 24th at 12 noon. Now, I'm tired of this. I'm getting the runaround. I need help.
But Sammy, you do know that you can file an official complaint with the Public Service Commission, and they should be able to, on your behalf, speak to AT&T and expedite your problem. The City Council has no real jurisdiction over AT&T, other than, you know, they're using our right-of-ways to, you know, for their service lines, but we are just as powerless as you are to call them and ask them to do anything. But your Public Service Commission will and can.
That being said, I do know some folks at AT&T, and I just sent them a message asking them to
See, that
address
just
your
went on.
concerns. So.
Mr. Chairman, that sounded good, but
just did
you
it.
don't know he's got an ace in the hole.
Jeff,
It's who you know, huh?
what did they say?
Yeah.
What's that?
What did they say?
Well, I just sent the message a few moments ago, so I haven't heard back from them yet, but I always do. They're usually really good about getting back. So,
Well, I may call you tomorrow from First Baptist Church at Shreveport to find out what they've had to say, because I'm
Please
tired
do.
of being given,
I'm
I'm
sure
tired
I'll
of
have
these
heard from
runarounds
them,
and cowards' excuses.
Absolutely. Well, please do, and I'm sure I will have heard from them in that amount of time. And I gave them all of your information, so hopefully it'll be addressed pretty soon.
Okay, and as far as the trash the grease, I found out that Rick Stovall was in that commercial. So, Mayor, I want to let you know that Rick Stovall showed me a picture the other day at church. We go to Springs of Grace Baptist Church together. He showed me the picture, and I thought he was trying to look like Hulk Hogan, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "That's me." And I said, "Lord have mercy." And keep the Girardi family in prayer. Bill, Becky, and Lori just lost Becky.
Okay. All righty, thank you. And our contact to all our public service issues are Jeff Epstein.
Our public service. I bet you Jeff gets it done.
Oh, you gonna get it done?
My money's on him.
What about, okay. All right, I have no other requests to speak. And if there's no other business from the council members or the mayor, this meeting is adjourned.
Very good, Mr. Chairman.